Hi everybody, my name is Stevie B. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Member of the Golden Text group in Hollywood, Florida. And I'm so blessed to be here with you guys tonight. And I'm sorry about the news that we're condensing 11 and 12, but there were some things that happened before I spoke. And our beautiful Amy, that's been doing such an incredible job, she went an extra couple weeks, and that's how it works. So tonight, it's not my son's first meeting. I just want to let you know he's been in meetings with me his entire life, but it's his first meeting as a young adult that he doesn't have headphones on or a video game system or any of that kind of stuff. So tonight we're going to talk about 11 and 12, step 11 and 12, but I would be remiss if I didn't explain to the new people, and we have a couple of new people here tonight who says first meeting. And so if you're here tonight and some of the stuff, this beautiful young lady and Tom, I believe his name was, some of the stuff is going to seem like it's going to be heavy, but I want you to know you're at the end of a step series. Next week, we'll be starting with an amazing man, or in the next couple of weeks, we'll be starting with an amazing man by the name of Pat, and he'll start from the beginning of the step series, and we recommend that you would come back next week. Just like anything that you've ever belonged to, you're at the end, like the 12th grade or the end of college. That's tonight. So it may seem like a lot. It may seem like a lot of God. It may seem like a lot of information. But next week will be the start of the steps. But I am going to just speak to the two new people for a second. And I do want to say that everybody in this room started exactly where you're at. Everybody in the room started exactly where you're at. We all started exactly there. We came to this meeting. We came to a meeting of some sort, and we heard the ABCs that was said by Joe tonight, which was so beautifully said. And the ABCs is that we were alcoholics, and we could not manage our own lives. Right? So hopefully you're here tonight and you realize you can't manage your own life. I'm not saying you're admitting you're an alcoholic yet, but you know you can't manage your own life. Like you have a drink, and then the drink has another drink, and then you wind up having more drinks than you want to. That means we can't manage our own life. Or in my case, I had a drink and wound up in Chicago. Like that kind of stuff. So, and then B, you realize that no matter how much swearing it off, no matter how much locking the cabinets, no matter if you had a DUI, if someone told you that you're going to lose your job, no matter what is happening, you realize that you can't stop, and that's the B part of the program. That's that no human power could have relieved that problem that you have, which we call alcoholism. So that's B. And you may be already there tonight. You may be saying, you know what? I need to get to a meeting. I realize I can't do it by myself. Where's Tom, by the way? Can you just raise your hand? Hey, Tom, welcome. And then C, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, which is the third step, which is pointing to where we're at tonight, is C, that God could and would if he were sought. And I'm sure, Tom, you've sought God out. I'm sure this young, lovely lady has sought God. Because if you've ever been in front of a toilet bowl and at the end of a night and you're just saying, oh, God, please help me get through the night. I don't know if you can relate to that. It seems like you could. And if you can, that's basically the 3 steps right there. That's like, oh, God. That's step 1. Please help me. That's step 2. Take this away and I'll do anything you want. That's step 3. Those are 3 steps. Right there. That's the bottom line. Tom, can you relate to that, Tom? I know you can. And everybody that came in here can relate to those first 3 steps, because every one of us has had that. If you haven't had the toilet bowl, you've had the arrest. And if you haven't had the arrest, you've been rolled up in a carpet. And if you haven't been rolled up in a carpet, you've been peeping out of a window for 3 days because you knew the police were going to come in at any time they were going to come in. Every one of us, that was for you, Max. Every one of us in here experienced the first 3 steps before we came in the doors. And then we come in here and then we say, well, I don't know. You do know what you're doing. You know what you're doing because you don't know what you're doing. You're like, I don't know what to do, and that's why you're here. And then as you work these steps, you're going to come to where we're tonight is, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of working these steps, you're going to have a spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening, and then you're going to want to go tell other people about it, which is what our beautiful friend Pete said, that on his anniversary is the Golden Text anniversary of Alcoholics Anonymous. By the way, happy birthday, 90 years, Alcoholics Anonymous this week. Hi, Annie. And so what is the Golden Text? the Lord has been so wonderful to me, curing me of this terrible disease, that I just want to go around telling everyone about it. That's the golden text. Let me tell you something. This is the Amway of life-saving information. You were dying. We were dying. Someone sees you again and says, my God, you look unbelievable. You're not dying anymore. And you go, I'm not dying. Let me tell you how it happened. And you tell them about Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's the golden text. The Lord has been so wonderful to me, curing me, not alleviating, not temporary. He's actually cured us of this terrible disease. What do we mean by that? Does that mean that we don't have alcoholism? No, of course we do. Pour a drink in any one of us in this room, and you will see what active alcoholism looks like. Take any of us out of the meetings and have us not work a spiritual program, and you will see what alcoholism looks like even without a drink. Alcoholism is not just a subtle foe, it's sometimes a silent foe in the sense that we have active alcoholism. When I married my beautiful wife, I had active alcoholism, and I had 5 years of, Sherry taught me this term, sobriety. Okay, I'm going to handle this from up here. So I had 5 years of sobriety. When we got married, Mark, when we got married and had our beautiful wedding that you're going to have next week, when we got married, I was so dryity. I was so dry that I could have combusted at any time because I was not working the steps. And so I had active alcoholism with no drink in me for 5 years. And that could return at any time. So what are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about tonight page 85. Everybody say 85. 86, 87, and 88. You need to know those numbers. If you know no other numbers in the big book, these are really important numbers to have, because 85, 86, 87, and 88, which could be your daily reading. If you don't have a daily reading, Brian has a daily reading. He sends it to me every day. It's really, really cool stuff. Brian, the teacher with the long hair that pretends he's working, he's got this unbelievable daily thing that he sends every day. You should have a daily reading every day. And you may say, well, where do I start? Well, let me show you. On awakening. That's a good place to start. Okay? Well, what does that mean? Well, on awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. Let me get to that. Well, first, even before that, it says, it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. Why? Most people that get to this place have been sober a while. Even if it's a couple months. If you've worked the 12 steps in a couple months, which not only is totally okay, it's awesome. Okay? Jeff Waycott, Pat Rogan, maybe Bob can take you through these steps in a weekend, and it works because that's the way it was done in the beginning. It totally can work because the 12 steps do not have to be over time. You don't have to wait the 12 steps so you can carry your garbage into your second year. You don't have to do that. You can let all your garbage out in a weekend. Right? So it's saying to you, it's easy for us to rest on our laurels. Why? We're not thinking about drinking. Someone said to me today that's sober a month. He's sober a month, I think, yesterday, and I think he may be on the line tonight. I'm not going to say his name because I just love him so much, but I hope he is watching from Oklahoma. And he said to me that he wasn't even thinking about drinking. He's got 30 days. He's not even thinking about drinking. Now, I want you to know that that's not a prerequisite for sobriety. Okay? Because not thinking about drinking doesn't mean you got to stay sober. I never thought about drinking until I had a drink. And then I was like, wow, I didn't even think of it. So that's not a prerequisite for sobriety. But having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, when we recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, the craziest thing is you're not even going to be thinking about drinking anymore. You're going to be going through life and you're going to see other people drinking and it's not even going to register to you. Thank you so much for that. It's not even going to come into you because it has nothing to do with you. Don't anybody get offended right now, please. I'm not trying to offend anyone. When I go to the restroom, my wife and I were at the amusement park or going to the restroom, and I go to the restroom, I look for the men's room. It's not like I go to the two restrooms and I have to wait. I don't know what to do. There's a men's room, there's a woman's room. I have to make a decision. No, it's automatic. I go right to the men's room. It's automatic now when I see alcohol, I know I don't drink. It's automatic. I don't even have to recoil from it like a hot flame. It's not part of my life. It has been removed. It has been removed. And there's many people in here that feel exactly the same way. It has been removed. I want you to know I asked some specific people to come here tonight. I can't mention all of them, but you know the people that I specifically asked you to come tonight. I asked you to be here tonight. I asked you to be here tonight. I asked you to be here tonight because I want you to know that along this journey, you're going to develop a team. And that team is going to help you on the days when it's not about the drinking, but as Cindy taught me, it's about the thinking. And on the days it's about the thinking, you're going to need to have a team around you. All right? And the people that I asked to come here tonight specifically, I said, please come here tonight. I wanted you to know that I'm so blessed to be on your team. I'm so blessed to have a team of recovering people around me. I'm so blessed tonight that I'm spending a night at my dear friend Sherry and Steve's house on a team. Tomorrow morning we're going to another meeting at 7 a.m. We have this unbelievable team. It's just this great way of life. All right? Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we have a spiritual awakening. I didn't know I was coming here for spiritual awakening. Tom, you don't know you're coming here for a spiritual awakening, and you don't need to know you're coming here for spiritual awakening. It's going to happen. It's unbelievable. It just happens. Listen to this. It's easy to let up on a spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. I don't know what's going on. It's like we're headed for trouble if we do. For alcohol is a subtle foe. It sneaks up. We are not cured of alcoholism. We're not cured of alcoholism, but it has no power over us if we work this spiritual program. And I didn't tell you guys this story, but when I was with John, my partner that's here tonight, my beautiful wife, my beautiful brother-in-law Jerry, they're all here tonight. Of course, my beautiful son, my wife, and we were in Cozumel, Mexico. And I didn't tell this story. Maybe I did. I'm not sure. But you certainly haven't heard it, and so did Tom. Nobody's heard it. And it was like the greatest day of my life. My dad, may God rest his soul, was sitting beside me. My mom, all of our friends. We had a friend, Scott, from New Jersey, a circuit speaker. Stevie and Patty were there. It was just it was like the greatest. It was my 50th birthday. You ever have one of those days where the weather's perfect? I don't know if you've ever been in a pool where they put the chairs in the pool. Joe, you know, you're the chair in the pool type of guy. It was there, and at that moment when I had the chair in the pool, the weather was incredible. My dad at 85 stood up and he said he was going to go parasailing, and he went with my brother-in-law Jerry, and they went parasailing. It was everything was perfection. At that moment, a friend came by and handed me a $100 cigar. It's one of the rarest cigars in the world. You can't even get it. He goes, "Yeah, I bought this for you." And I was in the pool, and I was like, and then at that exact moment, my favorite song came on. I don't know if you've ever had this moment. It was like a perfect time. Joe, probably for you, it's like the giant fish. You know, it was like everything was great. The sun, the water, the cigar, my family, my son, and then Despacito. And I get up and I start, Despacito. And my wife, who's Latin, she's Latina, we start dancing Despacito, and it was amazing. And at that moment, there was a Mexican, because we're in Mexico, and the guy goes, "Mojitos." It was like came through my dream, like I was perfect. It was like a perfect time. He goes, "Mojitos," and I looked over, and it was a mojito cart. He was making fresh mojitos. And at that moment, even though it was a perfect day, I realized I never had a mojito. Because I'm like 17 years sober and I never had a mojito. Robert's had many mojitos. I've never had a mojito. And at that moment, I had the thought, listen to this, I had the thought, I would love to have a mojito. And at that moment, God reached down from heaven and spoke to the guy, Scott, that was in the pool, Scott Fleming, and Scott said, "Hey, Steve." And I said, "What, Scott?" He said, he didn't even know what was going on, obviously, in my head. He said, "You know the only thing that can ruin this day?" And I go, "What, Scott?" And he goes, "Alcohol." And the moment he said that, it was removed. I have never had an obsession in all the 23 years. I've never had this. I've had a thought. I never had an obsession. It hasn't become overwhelming because once this has been removed, it's removed. And every day is a day that we must carry the vision of God into all our activities. How can I best serve you? Your will be done. How can I best serve you today, Lord? How can I, and this is from the big book. How can I best serve you today, Lord? Because my first inclination when I wake up in the morning is to serve me. Like my first thought in the morning is, how can I feed this vessel to feel better? Whether it's coffee, vitamins, the green drink, push-ups, whatever it is. I have a whole plethora of things that to ramp this thing up to get going. I don't know what you have. What is your name? Happy Eddie? What did you say your name was?
Happy Harold.
Happy Harold. Happy, you look like you have a whole set of things that you do to get you going, Happy Harold. Well, I immediately start thinking about me. The moment I wake up, it's autopilot. What can best serve thee? And what do I do at that exact moment? I get on my knees. And I turn my life and my will over to the care of God, because what I want to do is serve me. Happy Steve. What can make me more happy? And at that moment, I go to page 85. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. How can I pray and listen to God? How can I speak and listen to God if my mind is not turned off? How I do it is I do it. How the people I respect, we get on our knees. My wife and I, my brother-in-law Jerry, his beautiful wife, my wife's niece, we're all on our knees. My son, not in the morning so much, but maybe with his uncle, but at night we're all on our knees. Because when I get on my knees, this is not religious, by the way. My sponsor, who is Jewish, when I told him I don't get on my knees outside of Mass, he said, I don't care what religion you are. You keep smoking crack and you're in detox. Get on your knees. And then I remembered I had spent like an entire weekend in a carpet on my knees, and I could probably get on my knees to pray. So I was like, you know what, you're right. It was a whole weekend, you're right. So we shouldn't be shy in this matter. Better men and women than us are using it constantly. It works. Every person that I know that has a happy, joyous, and free life, pray. Every person prays that I know that has a happy, joyous, prays. And it works. This is all about from the big book on page 86. Now we went to page 86. Remember, 85, 86. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It's not going to come easy. Our first inclination is feed me. I don't know if you've ever seen that Little Shop of Horrors. My mind is a little shop of horrors, which is always saying, feed me. Right? The moment I wake up, what can I feed this little shop of horrors to make me feel better? And the moment I switch off me and I point at he is the moment I start get some relief of this mental situation that always wants to please me, which I'm never pleased. Because let me tell you, sin or using or alcohol, it always overpromises, and in my life, always underdelivers. So every single time it's this is going to be the perfect cup of coffee. This is going to be the perfect thing to look at on the internet. This is going to be the perfect thing to buy. This is going to be the perfect thing to buy, to look. It never delivers past that 5 seconds, 5 minutes. Lord Russell says he bought the brand new car and he got the brand new car and he was on the turnpike, the Rickenbacker turnpike in Miami. He had the brand new car, he had the brand new Camaro, and he felt like $1 million. Until the guy pulled next to him with the new Mercedes, with the blonde in the Mercedes, with the top down, and Russell felt like, you know what, I'm a loser. And he had the car for like 15 minutes and payments for the next 15 years. The only thing that's going to satisfy this God-sized hole is God. Well, my dear mentor, Dan, he doesn't like me to call him that, but he is a mentor to me. 52 years of sobriety. I would imagine, I don't know what he did today, but I know he did some type of incredible reading today. And I don't mean like Reader's Digest. He read like Thomas Merton or one of these incredible books. Because God is the only thing that fills the God-sized hole, and it stays filled. Everything else overpromises and underdelivers. And it would be easy to be vague about this matter, but I'm not going to be vague about this matter. The only thing that's ever worked for a guy like me is God. The only thing everything that I ever wanted in life had to boil down to my relationship with God. Every time that there's a yearning, every time there's a fear, every time that I'm thinking about the future or I'm upset about the past, it's lack of God and more of me. And that's what we do in the morning. Upon awakening, we think about the 24 hours a day ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially being asked that it be divorced of self-seeking motives. So immediately we take our will and we turn it over to God. That's how step 3 and 11 tie into each other. And then what do we do at night? Let's check. When we retire at night, it says right there, when we retire at night. That's a good clue on page 86 what we may be doing at night. It says, when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. And now it gives you the 11-step review. Were we resentful? Were we selfish? Were we dishonest? Were we afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves that should have been discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? You know what's great about this list? It's written down. You just have to go through it. Like right now, as I was saying it, according to this list, I had a pretty awesome day. Just today. What could we have done better? Ask yourself that question at the end of the day. What could you have done better? And then you write it down so that you know what you can fix. The Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Fix it now. And not in a text message, by the way. Text message will make the problem worse. Call the person. I'm just going to give you, this is not AA conference approved literature, what I'm about to tell you right now. Text messaging is a tool of the lower power. You tell someone, how are you? And they respond to you back, what do you mean by that? Because you can't feel the person's spirit. Okay? If I call you and I say, how are you? You can feel my spirit, and that shouldn't be misunderstood. So don't make amends or have a fight or a war or figure stuff out in text message. Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Oh, that I could do better on. I could do better on that. Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, or were we thinking of what we could do for others? So that's the 11th step. I got to tell you though, listen, some people deserve my wrath. Like they wronged me. Raise your hand up during the day like people wrong you. Like 4 people. You're alcoholics. Every one of you should be raising your hand. You've all had problems this week. Every one of you. Even Happy George here. He had that too. Every one of you. Happy Harry, sorry. Harry? Harold. I said the second right way. Listen. You had a bad day? Someone wronged you? You're feeling like they wronged you? Oh, let's go to the 11th step prayer, what St. Francis says. Because I think I'm going to retaliate. They're like really wrong. Well, let's find out what St. Francis said. Who's St. Francis? See, you got to do a little bit of investigation in Alcoholics Anonymous. What does that mean, faith without works is dead? Who's St. Francis? Where does this stuff come from? St. Francis was a person from Rome who was about to be a priest, and he came from royalty. I'm talking about Medici royalty. I'm talking about rich of rich. He was the Trump or these type of people during this time. And you know what he said? I'm giving all my money away, and I'm leaving the entire fortune, and I'm going to take an oath of poverty. And he did that. Right? Matt? That's St. Francis. The protector of animals, the protector of families, the protector of people. That's St. Francis. This is what St. Francis said when someone wrongs you. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there's hatred, I may bring love. Not where I respond like the way I used to respond, but where there's hatred, let me bring love. That where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness. That where there is discord or disharmony, let me bring harmony. That where there's error, I may bring truth. That where there is doubt, I may bring faith. That where there is despair. There's so much despair in the world right now. How much time are you doing watching CNN and Fox and adding to the despair and not getting out and helping in the despair? Watching stuff on TV is not going to help you to work the 11th step. Getting out and being the hands and feet of Alcoholics Anonymous because you've had a spiritual awakening as a result of this program. Getting out there, setting up the room, getting there early, setting up Zoom, setting up meetings, going to James that started this meeting. We're here because a guy had a vision. It's carried on because the people that have caught that vision. Cubby, David invited me to be up here. This group invited me, and thank you so much. And I'm so grateful that I get to come up here almost yearly, which is such a blessing for me. Why? Because I get to carry what's been so freely given to me. Those have been forgiven much, oh much. The 12 steps should not be a burden. The words, I can't believe I got to go to a meeting, should not even be, if you've had a spiritual awakening, you don't even think like that. Or even if you think like that, it doesn't matter. Now, I asked a specific person to be up here tonight, and I'm not going to make anyone feel uncomfortable, but I want you to know, and I believe I had a part in why she's here tonight. I'm definitely not the reason she's here tonight, and I'm not saying that. But in every one of our sobrieties, we have men and women that we've watched through the years that have placed little trinkets and little jewels into our sobriety, and that's why we're here. The Russells, the Peters, all the different people that are in your life, the Pauls, the Maddies, the Janice. Everywhere we have this incredible team of people that have poured into our lives, the Sharries. Let me tell you something. I'm a different person because I met Dan. And you have 50 of those people if you pay attention. And I believe I was a big part that day of why Jana's here tonight. And Jana is in another step series down in Fort Lauderdale. That's why she hasn't been here the last 11 weeks with Paulette, which is one of the most amazing women in the world in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I wanted to tell you a story on the night that was the lowest time of mine and my wife's life. And I'm not going to be graphic. My son is here tonight, but I want you to know that we had a very serious tragedy in our lives. And that day was the lowest day in our life. And I had said these words out loud: I'm not going to follow God anymore. I didn't say I was going to drink. Drinking never even came to my mind. But I said, I'm not going to follow a God that allows this to happen. And that night, my wife was at her Al-Anon meeting, and I was at the meeting that I took into the treatment center. Because no matter how hard your heart hurts, the 12th step is not something that just comes and goes. It's an outpouring of what has already happened in your life. The wanting to get to the next meeting, no matter what, no matter how the tragedy is, it's an outpouring. You can't even stop it. At 4:00 that day, on the worst day of my life to this day, I said, I'm not following God. And at 7:30 that night, I was in the parking lot crying and praying with a group of men in the parking lot before the treatment center meeting. And that woman that's there tonight, she watched a man cry and other men hold him. That was me. She watched the man cry and walk into the meeting broken. That was me. And across town at the Melrose Park Al-Anon meeting, my wife cried at her meeting. But women that were there and men that were there in that Al-Anon meeting, they saw my wife cry, and she was still there. And that day, Jana, who's now still sober 17 or 18 years, sponsors half of a ton of women from the Tri-City area, praise God. She witnessed a man crying but still going to the meeting. Reason I share that with you is because I don't know where her sobriety would be, but I do know that she'll never forget that day. I do know that I will never forget that day, and I do know that what it told me is that in the worst day, in the worst moment, in the worst hour, God is still there. I didn't even make it through one day abandoning God, because I know He didn't cause us to lose our child. I know He didn't cause us to have that day. I know He didn't cause us to have this, but He gets you through it. And because of that, we're a family today. Because of that, my beautiful wife and my beautiful son are here today. My brother-in-law and his wife, which is our. Because of that, we stand here today. Not because the last 23 years have been easy, but the last 23 years have been amazing. And then if that day wouldn't happen, If that day didn't happen, Romans 8:28 says all things work together for those that love God and are called according to his good purpose. If that day didn't happen, we wouldn't have our beautiful son. Maybe we wouldn't have beautiful Joshua, who changed our lives. Because the day that Joshua came into our house on April 25th, 2011, changed the course of our lives. And I want you to know something. I'm not going to get all crazy crying, even though I couldn't right at this moment. The last 14 years, I've had a Father's Day because of that boy. That boy brought me the Father's Day. And the best day of my life that I can remember, other than getting married to my wife, of course, is when he was 4 years old and we went to church and it was Father's Day. And that day something happened and my wife wasn't there at that exact moment, and I took Joshua up on the stage with me, and all the men from the church, we were singing Glory to God, and my son was in my arms. He was maybe three, 4. And I'll never forget that day. You see, if I didn't have the day with Jana that we pushed through, and my wife had the day of Al-Anon, if we didn't push through to get to that meeting, if we didn't push through to have the relationship with God, if we didn't push through to get Joshua, if we didn't push through to be here tonight, sobriety is not going to be easy. This is not going to be an easy road, but it's going to be the best thing that you've ever done in your entire life. Every single day there's going to be a purpose and a plan, but you won't know what it is unless you get on your knees and ask God what it is. Because you already have a whole laundry list of things you want to bring to God. You're like, I want this, I want this, I want that car, I want that boy, I want that. And God is like, listen, I appreciate your laundry list, but I have something for you to do. And if your will lines up with his will, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a life beyond your wildest dreams. Right, Joe? You're going to have a life beyond your will. If your will lines up with God's will, you're going to have a life beyond your wildest dreams. Some of the most wealthiest people I know are miserable. And some of the most incredibly humble people I know are the happiest. Being a pastor, I get the blessing of doing a lot of memorials. And I was at a memorial for a beautiful man in here with his wife a couple weeks ago, and I saw the fruit of his family. I saw what his 35 or 40 years of sobriety did for his family. And I saw the children and the grandchildren. I don't know if it was grandchildren. It was grandchildren, yes? Yes. Grandchildren, because of the seeds that were planted in here. Listen, what you plant will grow. If you want to continue to plant alcoholism and drug addiction and cacophony and all this stress into your family, guess what's going to happen? Someday, at the last day on your memorial, someone's going to come in and you're going to either have one or two. You're going to either have blessings or you're going to have disappointment. I don't have enough time to tell you how much the 12th step has changed our lives. But what I want to tell you is that learn this word, and I want you to say it back to me. Yes. 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 See, you need to learn this word now. Okay? There's nothing easy in a life beyond your wildest dreams, but if you don't learn the word yes, you're going to learn the word no. And I'm not going to put you on a pedestal, Robert. I'm really not. But I want to tell you something. When someone called me today and asked me, well, Robert Sanchez or Robert Saint Fleur, he's got a couple different French names and Spanish names. Will he speak for us at this double speaker meeting? And I answered for him. I said, if he's in town, the answer is yes. Because I've watched people inconveniently say yes to things that don't make sense. Tonight I'm speaking here, and I'm also speaking at 7 a.m. in Crossroads, which is north of here, and I live in Hollywood. So Sherry, who's an amazing person, an amazing giver, and her beautiful husband Steve said, why don't you stay over tonight so that you can be on time for the meeting tomorrow at Crossroads at 7? And then someone else said, can you speak over here on Saturday at 11? And then someone else said, well, can you do me this favor? Can you come out to San Jose, California next Thursday and speak for us in San Jose? And then another guy said, hey, we're close to San Jose. It's close. It's like San Francisco. Can you speak on Friday night in San Francisco? And then another person said, hey, would you do me a favor? On Saturday, can you meet my friend in Los Angeles? because they need to talk about getting sober. And you know what my answer was? Yes. And I have a whole team of yes people around me that allow me to do that, hold up my arms. My partner, John, has allowed me to be a yes person for us. And he says, you know what, go and I'll watch the store. And Jerry says, go and I'll watch your child or your dog. And my wife says, go and I'll be with you by our side. This weekend, we spoke at the Young People's Convention in Wisconsin. She was the Al-Anon speaker and I was the AA speaker because we said yes. This is what I'm trying to do. By the way, nothing's pointing at me. This is not about me. This is about all of us serving one God and one Creator. And if you continue to say yes, watch what happens. I need like 2 more hours. And that's the reason I'm not here next week. If you keep me in prayer, next week I'm in San Jose, California. And then the next day, Friday, I'm in something close to San Jose. And then the next week after that, Georgia. And then 2 weeks after that, praise God, Kentucky. And then 2 weeks after that, back to San Jose. Because God's been so amazing to us, hasn't he? Yes. So how could we say no? That's right. I've called my brother up the day before, Robert, or not the day before, the hour before. He lives up here, but Robert, would you come down to our little meeting at JC Recovery Center and speak to our people on Friday night? And he goes, of course. And you know what he told me one time? He said, how can I not? How can we not? And anyone in here like Michael or myself that relapsed, that had long-term sobriety, Michael, me too, it's because we said no. We said no to AA and yes to ourselves. And anytime we say no to AA and yes to ourselves, the result is always some type of relapse. It's not always a physical relapse, but it's absolutely at the very minimum a spiritual relapse. And anytime I start to have a spiritual relapse, it's very possible that a physical relapse is right around the corner. And that was my case at 7 years. At 7 years of sobriety, I had a physical relapse because at 4 years of sobriety, I started to not work the program. And this is what Dr. Bob says. Does anybody know what page it is to help me out with that? The 4 things, Paul, the 4 things, Dr. Bob, Robert? 181? Thank you. Who said that, by the way? Paul, of course. Which is a great example. And in this room, there's several people that he sponsors. And in this room, there's several of those people that they sponsor, and they sponsor, and they sponsor. And my sponsor just got on a plane to go to Calgary, Canada. Calgary's in Canada, right? I think so. Calgary, Canada. Today, he's speaking at a convention, and his sponsor, my grand sponsor, Dion, got on a plane with Adam tonight to go speak in Minnesota. The same place where he could have taken the plane 50 years ago, but didn't take the plane the night the music died. And he's on a plane with Adam tonight to go spread the message in Minnesota. You know why? The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. I mean, unless you're going to put your family at jeopardy, unless, like I don't take speaking engagements on Sundays because that's the day that I give to the Lord and to give to my wife. And someone said to me a couple weeks ago, and I'm really not looking for any controversy. I'm really not. They said to me, how can you do that? How can you say no? Because I'm saying yes to my family on Sundays. So unless you're putting your family at jeopardy, who's your first ministry, the answer is always yes. And that person quoted me back the Bible. And they were right. And I thanked them. But I still didn't do it. I spent this is Dr. Bob, the co-founder of our program, 90 years ago. They wrote this book 90 years ago. Between 1935 and 1939, this book was published. We called 1935, June 10th, 1935, we called that our anniversary day. It was 90 years ago this week, and this is what Dr. Bob, the co-founder, said. I do these things, why? Because I want everyone to say how great I am? No, nobody cares. We do it for God. We go help the newcomer because we were the newcomer. We were the newcomer. So when we go help the newcomer, it's not like, wow, we're like the most amazing people, because we're not. We go to help the newcomer because at that moment, we become more like God and less like us. When we read the book with somebody, we become more like what God wanted us to do than ourselves. When we go to go and drive someone to a meeting that's not convenient, we're more like God and less like ourselves. And this is what Dr. Bob said. He said he does it for 4 reasons. One is a sense of duty. I have a sense of duty. You know that this is what we should do. You know that this is what we should do. Jan, every year when I speak, he goes and makes these cards up with the 3rd-step prayer and the 7th-step prayer. Why? Is someone tell him to know? No, he just feels like this is something he should do. It's a blessing. 2, it's a pleasure. This is a pleasure. This is like the best thing that's happened to me. And Alcoholics Anonymous is a pleasure. This is so fun. Tonight we're going to go to pizza afterwards, and I can't wait. And then tomorrow morning we wake up at 5:30. We go to a meeting at the Crossroads to Sherry's home group at 7 a.m. This is fun. It's a pleasure. And because in doing so, I'm paying a debt to the man who took time to pass it on to me, or to the woman that took time to pass it on. Thank you, Jerry Bear. Thank you. Raymond Myers. Thank you, Myron Azef. May God rest his soul. Thank you, Paul Efron. Thank you, Russell Spatz. And thank you to the men and women in here that took the time out to spend it with me. Thank you. Thank you. Because every time I do it, I take a little more out insurance for myself against a possible slip. Because of the work I put in, there was a man in the pool when I was 50 years old and I was 17 years sober, and he said to me, the only thing that can ruin this day is alcohol. Why? Because I'm not on the outskirts of the program. I'm in the middle of the program. And if you're in the middle of the program, you're going to have people that say that kind of stuff to you. John was there. And if you're in the outside of the program, you're going to have people that say, you know what would be nice today? A drink. But if you're in the middle of the program, you don't have those people. I want you to know the last thing I want to leave you, and I'm going to miss you guys so much. But you're in good hands. It's going to be a great series. It's been a great series before with Amy, praise God. It was a great series this time. We're going to have a great series with Pat. And every person that they bring up here does what God wants them to do. This is a great group. But for Tom and the beautiful woman over there that we just met tonight, I want you to know something. Alcoholics Anonymous is a great program. And it's going to get to a place where you're not just going to be thinking about drinking anymore. It's going to have nothing to do with drinking. You're not even going to be thinking about drinking. You're going to stay here for your thinking. And then you're going to develop a relationship with God, and you're going to want to pass this on. And when you go to pass this on, it's going to give you the greatest sense of, not accomplishment, but a purpose. And I have a purpose today. I'm not one of these guys that settle for the crouton in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm one of these guys that are like, how you doing? Hanging in there. About 52 years of sobriety. Hanging in there. Don't talk about God. You're going to scare the newcomer away. Where are they going to go? I mean, really. Not like I had a lot of options. It was either Julio or this program. I mean, you could have a life beyond your wildest dreams, relationship with God, happy, peace, serenity, and joy, or you can just have sobriety. I'm going to choose a relationship with God, and it's going to produce sobriety anyway. God bless you guys.